Where did all the planes go? At the peak of the post-COVID travel recovery in 2023, airlines were turning away passengers not because they lacked routes or gates or crews, but because hundreds of brand new commercial aircraft, already delivered and paid for, were sitting on the ground, unable to fly. These weren't mechanical failures in the traditional sense. The planes were grounded because the engines fitted to them had been recalled, or because the replacement engines needed to get them back in the air were waiting in a supply chain that had effectively stopped moving. Pratt & Whitney issued a recall of its GTF-geared turbofan engine in 2023, affecting over 1,000 aircraft worldwide. The powder metal contamination that triggered the recall required engines to be removed, inspected, and in many cases replaced, a process that takes months per engine and requires shop capacity that the maintenance industry does not have. Here's why a problem inside two engine manufacturers grounded more aircraft than any crisis in commercial aviation history, outside of a regulatory shutdown. To understand this, start with one basic structural fact. The jet engines that power the world's commercial fleet are not built by a competitive market. They are built by a duopoly. And when both members of that duopoly break down simultaneously, there is nowhere else the industry can turn. CFM International, a 50-50 joint venture between GE Aerospace and Safran Aircraft Engines, and Pratt & Whitney, a division of RTX Corporation, together power approximately 80% of the world's narrow-body commercial fleet. CFM's LEAP engine powers the Airbus A320neo family and the Boeing 737 MAX, the two best-selling narrow-body aircraft in aviation history. Pratt & Whitney's GTF engine powers the A320neo family as the alternative engine option. Between these two programs, virtually every new narrow-body aircraft delivered since 2016 flies on an engine built by one of two companies. Both companies entered the post-COVID recovery period with supply chains damaged by pandemic-era manufacturing shutdowns, raw material shortages, and the loss of skilled labor that doesn't rebuild overnight. CFM fell behind on LEAP deliveries, leaving new Airbus and Boeing aircraft without engines at the point of delivery. Pratt & Whitney discovered the powder metal contamination issue in existing GTF engines, triggering a recall that pulled serviceable engines out of the fleet at the same moment the fleet needed them most. An airline buying a new narrow-body aircraft chooses between the CFM LEAP and the Pratt & Whitney GTF. There is no third engine option. When both suppliers fail simultaneously, the airline has no alternative to turn to and no contractual mechanism to compel either manufacturer to accelerate. The cost of what happens when a duopoly breaks is not paid by the companies that broke it. It is paid layer by the airlines, the passengers, and the leasing companies sitting on assets that cannot fly. So what did the engine shortage actually cost the airlines absorbing it? It starts with wet leasing. Airlines whose aircraft are grounded must source replacement capacity from other operators through wet lease agreements, arrangements that include the aircraft, crew, maintenance, and insurance bundled together. Wet lease rates for narrow-body aircraft ran between $150,000 and $250,000 per aircraft per month during the peak shortage period of 2023 and 2024. An airline managing 10 grounded aircraft faces a wet lease bill of $1.5 to $2.5 million per month just to maintain its schedule, on capacity it already owns and has already paid for. Then there is revenue dilution. An airline that reduces its schedule by 10% due to grounded aircraft loses that revenue permanently. Unlike a factory that can run extra shifts to recover lost output, a missed flight cannot be rescheduled and resold. Airlines including Indigo, Wizz Air, and Go First publicly disclosed material revenue impacts from GTF groundings, revenue that no compensation mechanism from Pratt & Whitney was structured to replace. Then there is passenger compensation liability. EU regulations and increasingly global passenger rights frameworks require airlines to compensate passengers for cancellations regardless of cause. GTF-related cancellations generated compensation liability that airlines absorbed directly, with no contractual right of recovery from the engine manufacturer whose recall caused the cancellation. But the cost that compounds across the entire fleet is maintenance queue displacement. Engines removed for GTF inspection occupied shop capacity that would otherwise have been used for routine overhaul of other aircraft. Every GTF inspection that entered the queue displaced a scheduled maintenance visit and created a secondary wave of airworthiness compliance risk across fleets that had nothing to do with the original recall. The combined cost of wet leasing, revenue dilution, passenger compensation, and maintenance displacement across affected airlines ran into the billions of dollars globally through 2023 and 2024. But the cost stack only explains how much the shortage cost. It doesn't explain why the shortage was structurally inevitable. And that answer is in the manufacturing contracts that nobody outside the industry reads. So if the shortage cost the industry billions, why were airlines locked into a supply chain with no alternative when it broke? Because the engine selection an airline makes when ordering a new aircraft cannot be changed for the life of that aircraft. An Airbus A320neo, certified to fly with CFM LEAP engines, cannot be retrofitted with Pratt & Whitney GTF engines. The engine selection is made at the aircraft order stage, years before delivery, and is embedded in the aircraft's type certificate. An airline that ordered GTF-powered A320neos in 2015 or 2016 committed to Pratt & Whitney for the entire 25 to 30-year operational life of those aircraft with no exit option, regardless of what happened to the manufacturer's supply chain. Go First, an Indian low-cost carrier, filed for bankruptcy in 2023, citing Pratt & Whitney engine shortages as a primary cause. At the time of filing, 54 of the airline's aircraft were grounded. At $1 million to $1.5 million in lost monthly revenue per grounded aircraft, Go First was absorbing between $54 and $81 million in monthly revenue loss, sustained over multiple months, with no contractual mechanism to recover it from the manufacturer whose engines had grounded its fleet. If two companies control every engine on every narrow-body aircraft flying today, the question isn't how the shortage happened. The question is why the system was built this way, and who benefits from it staying that way. The math doesn't make a suggestion, it gives an order. Here's what nobody talks about. The engine shortage that grounded hundreds of aircraft did not cost CFM International or Pratt & Whitney their market position. It cost the airlines. And the same supply chain concentration that made the shortage systemic is also the mechanism that makes both companies extraordinarily profitable in the years that follow it. Jet engines are sold at or near cost at the point of manufacture. The margin is in the aftermarket. Engine maintenance, repair, and overhaul, the work required to keep a certified engine airworthy across its 25 to 30-year service life, generates the majority of the lifetime revenue from any engine program. Exclusive certification means the airline cannot take its engine to an independent shop. It must use manufacturer-approved facilities at manufacturer-set labor rates using manufacturer-supplied parts. The global aircraft engine (MRO) market was valued at approximately $85 billion in 2023. CFM and Pratt & Whitney's authorized networks capture a disproportionate share of that through the same exclusive certification requirements that locked airlines into a broken supply chain. The shortage that grounded hundreds of aircraft simultaneously created a maintenance backlog that aftermarket service providers, majority owned or licensed by the same two manufacturers, are now billing at premium rates to clear. There is no financial incentive for either company to support reforms that would allow independent MRO providers to service their engines without authorization. Doing so would directly reduce the aftermarket revenue that funds the R&D cost of the next engine generation. The concentration that produced the shortage hasn't been reduced. It has been locked in further by the next generation of engine contracts, and the airlines that were grounded in 2023 have signed those contracts anyway. There have been attempts to address this. The US Federal Aviation Administration and the European Union Aviation Safety Agency both launched investigations into the Pratt & Whitney GTF powder metal contamination issue in 2023. The investigations produced an accelerated inspection mandate and a timeline for engine removal and replacement that Pratt & Whitney has struggled to meet. What neither investigation addressed is the structural concentration of the engine manufacturing market itself, or the exclusive certification framework that turned a manufacturer's quality control failure into a global aviation capacity crisis. The barriers to entry in jet engine manufacturing are not regulatory choices, they are economic realities. Developing a certified commercial jet engine takes decades and costs billions of dollars. No new entrant has launched a narrow-body jet engine program since the GTF and LEAP were developed in the 2000s. When China's COMAC launched its C919 narrow-body aircraft, the most significant new commercial aircraft program outside Boeing and Airbus in a generation, it equipped the aircraft with CFM LEAP engines. Even a state-backed aviation program with unlimited development budget could not produce a competitive alternative engine in time for its first commercial aircraft. So the strange truth remains. The world ran short of serviceable aircraft, not because it ran short of planes, but because two companies build almost every engine that makes them fly. And when both stumbled at the same moment, there was nothing behind them. The airline isn't turning away passengers because it wants to. It's being rational inside a supply chain designed around concentration so extreme that when two companies stumble, the entire global fleet feels it. That's not an aviation problem. That pattern shows up in every industry you've never thought to look at.